It's early National Signing Day, so what does this mean for the LSU Tigers? Will Lane Kiffin be able to hold on to some of their big-name recruits? Will he snag some of the players that were headed to Ole Miss? Is Frank Wilson remaining with the Tigers? Is Blake Baker staying on as defensive coordinator, or is he headed to Tulane to replace Jon Sumrall? Speaking of Tulane, if it's not Blake Baker, who will be their next coach? How has Jon Sumrall remained focused for the Green Waves' huge game Friday night for North Texas for the American Conference Championship? At the same time, Florida is trying to kick off its signing period. Oh, and of course, we have the Saints to talk about. So many questions, so we're bringing in a couple of experts. Tulane play-by-play announcer Corey Gloor is here, as is LSU podcaster and broadcaster and ESPN radio host Matt Moscona. The Dattitude podcast is jam-packed, baby, and it starts right now.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where? What the hell was that? Where? I don't even know what I did there. What did I do there? Where you at, Dattitude family? How about that? I couldn't get it out. I was like mid-sip of coffee. I didn't time it right. Hold on. Let me do this all over again. Hold on. I'm not going to play the intro again. Hold on. All right. Where you at, Dattitude family? We're going to play a little game of how many questions can we fit into one show. We are so jam-packed that we have two, kind of even Shough guys can count to two guests for you today on Dattitude, episode number 446, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Wednesday, December the 3rd. What the hell is going on? Can't even talk today. I'm so excited I got questions lined up in my head. It's like, I need to do some like a-hole Aaron Rodgers meditation or something. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm Jim Derry. You know who I am. 35 years in the New Orleans sports media scene. I thank you for being a part of the Dat family. You know what is most special about this show? You know what's special about it. I mean, if you're a regular, you know what's special. You talk to me, I talk back to you. You show today you're going to have lots of comments and questions probably for our guest. I'm just guessing. But if you type them in, whether you watch it on YouTube or Facebook or even X, they say it comes through. I'll believe it when I see it. You type them in, we show it, we talk back to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. If you're watching after the fact, obviously we can't talk back to you. You could talk to us and I'll see it. I might type in your comment. That's about it. You can find me on X at Jim Derry Jr. Email me, jim@jimderry.com. Obviously, we would love for you to subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page. That's where our Dattitude family lives. So if you are so inclined and you have a moment, please subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page. Click the like, click the little bell, all the stuff that helps with, the algorithm. The old vaunted algorithm, they say. Today I have so many questions about things that are going on. And not just with our guests that are coming up. Corey Gloor is coming on about 11:30 to talk about Tulane and what's going on with there. How is Jon Sumrall paying as much attention to his Green Wave as he is to his Florida Gators, where he's going next? Look, National Signing Day is a big deal. What is going on with Tulane and National Signing Day? Is this affecting them? Again, as they prepare for I would argue that this is the second most important game in recent Tulane history. Okay. You could argue it's the most important game, really, because if they win this game, they go into the playoff. They won't go into the college football playoff. So you could argue that it's the most important. I still say probably the Cotton Bowl a few years ago is more important, especially the fact that they won. It kind of changed the program. It changed the tone of the program. So I still say that's probably the most important one, but we'll see what Corey thinks. So his first time on the show. When's the last time we had a first timer? Wasn't too long ago. I can't remember who it is. I don't know. Who is? Hang on. In fact, he's texting me as we speak. There we go. But when's the last time, we had a first time guest? Gabe, do you remember? It seems like this year, right? He's going to type it in. It seems like it was this year. It seems like it was not that long ago. But I am old and I forget these things. So Corey's going to come on. We're glad to have him. I tried to have him on once before. It didn't work out. About a month ago, we tried to have him on. It didn't work out. So he's going to come on plenty to talk about Tulane-wise. And obviously, all these things kind of go together. LSU and Tulane kind of weirdly going together, right? I mean, there's a rumor going around. It's not really a rumor, to be honest. I have some sources on the inside that are telling me, and it's the same thing that Matt Moscona has been talking about on his shows, that Blake Baker is near the Matt says that Blake is near the top of the list. I'm going to tell you from what I hear, Blake Baker is at the top of Tulane's list. Now, they're also talking, from what I understand, to Billy Napier and a few others. And so what I'm hearing, this is what I'm hearing through my sources. Take it for what it's worth. I hear that Blake Baker is number one. Billy Napier, as of right now, is number two. I'm going to ask that of Corey Gloor. We'll see. I don't know if he can answer it or not. So we'll see if he can answer. If he can, we're going to if he can answer it, great. If he can't, well, I'm still going to ask him. But that's what I'm hearing. I'm also going to ask the same of Matt Moscona. As he was talking about this morning on his morning scone show, he thinks that Blake Baker is going to stay at LSU. And I know that LSU fans obviously hope that he does. What would LSU do if they lose Blake Baker? Who would be the defensive coordinator? How would that affect the recruits? Because it's already kind of shown that it may be affecting recruiting a little bit. The number one recruit in the nation by some, at least by ESPN, I know is the number one recruit in the nation. Defensive lineman from U High, Lamar Brown. 5-star defensive lineman. They have 2 5-star defensive linemen that are committed to LSU right now, Lamar Brown and Cars Richard Anderson, and both are committed. Neither are signing today, from what I understand. That's what I hear. So Gabe's giving me the waggle finger. That's what I hear. Unless someone tells me difference. Yeah, Jim Henderson, you're right, was number 400. But I think we have had somebody more recently than that. Richard Anderson said, we'll see. He's not signing today. I'd be very although we'll see. Again, everything that I'm hearing through the grapevine says that he's not signed. I hope that he does, because that needs to get over with. But Lamar Brown almost certainly is not signing today. All right, we're going to talk about that with Matt. We're going to talk about where is Lane Kiffin in the process of. I think when you get to a certain point, you say, okay, this is what we have for right now. We'll worry about signing the rest of the coaches going forward. Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to coach with Ole Miss. I know that has been that has sparked some contention, I guess, because I have heard the old, what is the difference between Charlie Weiss coaching at Ole Miss but not Lane Kiffin? Plenty. We're going to get into all that. We may or may not talk about that with Matt. We'll probably talk about it before Matt comes on. Plenty to talk about. Again, Corey's coming on at 11:30. Matt is scheduled to come on at noon. So before that, we're probably going to talk about Saints a little bit early on, and maybe Saints a little bit at the end. We'll see how it goes. Okay, we're going to have to play everything by ear this morning. That's how this show is going to go. So we'll see how it goes. I see I got a lot of comments in the queue. I'm going to get to them in just a minute. A couple other things outside of the realm of our little world. I like to start off with things that are going on, not necessarily things that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about today. And the first thing that we're definitely not going to spend a lot of time talking about today, the New Orleans Pelicans. I mean, this has just become a sad circus, okay? They fall to 3, and I didn't think they could be worse than last year. I mean, I really didn't. I thought that if you would have told me, what are the odds you think they'll be worse, they'll have at least a worse couple months than they had last year, I would have said 2%. They're blowing past it, baby. They blew another one last night. Zion's now out for, 3 weeks? Who knows? And at this point, who cares? I'm to the point now with Zion, I'm almost going to tell you that I wish they would just dump him. I know you can't do that logistically, but just trade him to wherever you traded Trevor Penning at this point. I mean, maybe the Chargers would take him for a box of rocks. You think you could get a box of rocks from the Chargers for Zion Williamson? Maybe he can get healthy and play tight end. I mean, how long would that last? What a mess. The Pelicans are an absolute. You know how we talked about rock bottom for the Saints was against the Rams? I don't know when. I don't think they've hit rock bottom yet. I don't know what rock bottom is for the New Orleans Pelicans, but it's an embarrassing mess. And that whole organization right now, you put the Saints and the Pelicans together, man, what? New Orleans professional sports is a joke right now. It really is. I mean, who'd have thunk that the Saints are the class of the two New Orleans professional franchises? The Pelicans have played 22 games. The Saints have played 12. The Pelicans have one more win than the New Orleans Saints. That's insane. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm not spending a lot of time talking about that right now. I'm just not. We got so much to talk about today that's important. And honestly, I hate to say it, but the Pelicans are just not important. Until they start being relevant, I just don't know how much time we can spend on them. I mean, I know we're going to when we get a little further on in the calendar, I guess. But right now, you got all kinds of things going on at Tulane and LSU, and even the Saints are more important than the Pelicans right now. They just are. So that's kind of where we are. Pelicans are like fourth on my list. Just don't have time for it today. Ain't nobody got time for that. Chris Paul, did y'all hear this saga with the Clippers? Clippers let them go overnight. What are they, 5? They're like 5-16 or whatever. They're not much better than the Pelicans. They are an absolute mess. Maybe they're even more of an embarrassment than the Pelicans. I don't know. But Chris Paul, how do you let Chris Paul go? What a mess. That's a thing that if we had, and maybe Gabe and I will talk about this a little bit later. He says no, he doesn't want to. He didn't care. Maybe it'll come up. I don't know. We'll give you. By the way, we're going to finish this show with Thursday night football predictions. I have one of my best bets of the year for primetime tonight. You know how I tell you sometimes I have a play. Sometimes I'm like, I have a play, but I don't love it. I have a play for tomorrow night's game. Not only do I love it, it's one of my plays of the year. Top 5 play of the year. Doesn't beat the San Francisco play that I had last week that I never even really got to give out because we didn't do pick 'em. I'll let you know what it is. Again, we'll wrap up the show this afternoon, probably about 12:30-ish, 12:40 maybe, with our Thursday night football pick. Gabe and I will give you our thoughts. I don't know if he has the best bet or not, but I'm telling you, I love it. And lastly, before we get going here this morning, Deshaun Watson. Did you hear this? Quarterback? You know, Deshaun Watson's. You want to talk about, we just talked about how embarrassing the Pelicans are. I mean, the Cleveland Browns may be in a worse shape than the New Orleans Pelicans. It's close. I mean, what did they played like 8 different quarterbacks this year? Okay, I exaggerate. 10? They might have another one. They almost certainly will. Deshaun Watson's window is opened. The 21-day period, you know, when he comes off of whatever the injured list. Yeah. Deshaun Watson's window is open, which means you don't open someone's window most likely unless you intend to play him. So Deshaun Watson's probably going to play at some point soon. What happens? I know it's not going to happen. I'm not trying to, whatever. I know it's not going to. But just say, what happens if? I mean, I think the Browns play the Titans this week. What happens if Shedeur Sanders has a really good game? Okay. And then he has another really good game. What are you going to do? You're going to start Deshaun Watson instead? What a mess that is. That'll probably come up on Friday's show. Friday's show coming up. It will be Zach and the gang. The Pick'em crew will be here. Zach and I will we'll do our predictions for not only the Saints Tampa Bay game and tell you what we think. And I'm about to get into Saints for just a moment. But we'll also talk about Tulane and make our predictions for the Tulane North Texas game Friday night and the American Conference Championship game. So lots to talk about with Zach again, and then the Pick'em crew who have our best bets. We didn't do best bets last week because we did our show on Saturday with all the Lane Kiffin news. We just figured there wasn't really time to do the Pick'em. So all that coming up on Friday, and I'm sure Deshaun Watson's name will come up. Who knows? Maybe one of us will pick the Browns-Titans game as a best bet. We'll see. All right, it's time to get going this morning. I'm going to put the Saints slide up first because we're going to start off with the Saints. I'm going to get to comments in just a minute, I promise. I know there are plenty in the queue. But before we do, okay, I want to introduce you to our newest sponsor. I am so happy to introduce our newest sponsor. If you see it there at the bottom left of the screen, you probably noticed it already. If you're not watching, if you listen, let me tell you a little bit about Joe DiStefano Insurance. A commercial is incoming. I will have a commercial for you either on Friday or on Monday. But I thought I would just introduce you to my friend. No matter whether you are in and around the New Orleans area, if you own a small business of fewer than 20 employees, you know how tough it is to get the best rates on health insurance. That's when you will want to give Joe DiStefano a call. We have known each other for almost 40 years. We're both old. That's right. I can tell you that he is someone that I trust. Look, health insurance shouldn't be a one-size-fits-all. And with Joe DiStefano, you get access to PPO networks and flexible plans designed to fit you. Not just a cookie cutter mold. Joe is licensed and local, but can help you no matter where you live and operate. From preventative care to peace of mind, we'll tailor a plan that works for your life today and tomorrow. Call Joe DiStefano at 504-234-2132. That's 504-234-2132 to protect what matters most. All right. Time to get to the comments. Thank you so much, Joe, for being a part of the Dattitude family as one of our sponsors, and we love it. All right. You being changes. You just wanted me to sing. That's Callie. Good morning. Who Dat Nation and Tiger fans and Greenway fans for that matter. Charles Mangus, good morning. Do I think Kiffin will stay 10? Oh, if I think Kiffin will stay 10, 15 years, you are crazy. Okay, well, good. I'm not crazy. I think there's about 0.1% chance that happens. Dylan Smith, good morning to the family and to me. Thank you so much. Barry, good morning. Hakeem, big dog. Nobody's going to say it yet. John Brick Pace, good morning. Good morning, Gabe. Good morning, Dattitude. Mark Gapsky, good morning. UBN hates the weather. I love it. I love it. I love the weather. No one still, I'm just going to say it. I'm surprised no one's in here with the hump day. It's hump day. Come on, man. Apathy. At least we don't have to watch putrid offenses at LSU for a while. If you say so. No, you're probably right. I'm trying not to hate apathy. Apathy means you kind of don't care either way. I'm not apathetic. Sometimes I wish I was. I don't know how do you do it? Charles wants to know if the heater is not working in my studio. I'm not really wearing a jacket, it's a pullover, but I am wearing a thermal underneath. And basically what happened, the short story is my wife is at a conference, not really out of town. It's like 50 miles from here, but she had to sleep out for a couple nights. So I had to bring the kids to the bus stop this morning at 6:40, and it was 38 degrees. And this is what I put on, and it's what I still have on. I've been busy. I haven't stopped since I woke up. CWO USAR. Good morning. Don't normally follow LSU Tulane, but I follow Dattitude, so you're here. The show and straight talk, like it or not. Thank you so much for being here. We are going to talk about other things. We're going to talk about the Saints here. You see the slide is up. Rockies. I knew Rocky would do it. Hump day. I knew you would be here. Apathy wants to know, have I ever had Jerry Smith on the show? And the answer is no, but that's not to say I wouldn't. It just hasn't happened that way. John Burke Pace says it's snowing in Colorado this morning. It was cold enough to snow here in the North Shore this morning. Charles, no Napier, Coach O. Coach O's not going to Tulane. That's not going to happen. I'm just telling you from what I hear, I'd be very surprised. I truly believe, again, this is something that we'll ask Corey later, but I think Blake Baker is number one on their wish list. They'll offer him $3.5-4 million a year. He'll have to decide, do I want to be the head coach at Tulane or do I want to be the defensive coordinator at LSU? It's a tough decision. He'll make about the same money. It really is a tough decision. For me, it wouldn't be. I mean, no offense. You know, I believe unlike the dumbass of the week on Monday who said I'm an LSU hater, Y'all remember that or not? I don't even remember what his name was. I think it was Ray something. Fred. It was Fred something. Dumbass of the week. Who said I'm an LSU hater, even though, I went to LSU, was in the Golden Man from Thailand. Yeah, I hate LSU. But I will say this. If I had the option and my own personal option, I could be the defensive coordinator at LSU, or I could be the head coach at Tulane. I know this is probably an unpopular position, but I would take head coach at Tulane. Today, I might not have said that 3 or 4 years ago, but today I would say that. That's my opinion. We'll see. Yeah, you ain't lying. They fired Willie Green. I thought they'd be good now. Yeah, nope. Mark Satanovich says y'all need to put a spotlight on our small NOLA Pelicans home game attendance. We had 3,000 in the stands last night. Soon it'll be 50. Doesn't matter. Let me just tell you, it doesn't matter how many people in the stands. As long as they're selling the tickets, that's still. I don't know if they're all sold out or whatever. I think they still have tickets left, but they sell most of the tickets. What do you expect? This isn't the only. This is only the only NBA team. Y'all keep saying I keep hearing about all these quote unquote rumors about the Pelicans. The Pelicans aren't going anywhere. Okay. The rumor is there's no rumor. Any rumor is either made up by you, and I don't mean you in the chat. You're either making up a rumor or you're reading some crap that's just not true. There is no. I have not seen one legitimate, realistic rumor, quote unquote rumor, that even rings to be true that the Pelicans are going. The Pelicans aren't going anywhere. Not anytime soon. They're just not. Gail, man, she's not going anywhere. She's not going to give up on it's just not going to happen. Bill, hello from New Mexico. Well, welcome, Bill. Thank you for joining us from New Mexico. Do you live in New Mexico, or are you just visiting there and you're watching the show? There he is. Joe DeStefano's here. He has a meeting right now. He'll try to come back. Joe DeStefano Insurance, our newest sponsor. Thank you for being a part of the Dat family. Absolutely. Ovide, good morning. Who dat, baby? All right, Bill, Shough is the guy now. Draft is going to get interesting. And again, we're not going to have a whole lot of time to talk about the Saints this morning. Again, I'll probably come back to the Saints at the end. Corey Gloor is coming up at 11:30 to talk about Tulane, and at noon, Matt Moscona is coming on to talk about LSU. And we're going to talk about with LSU the lead. It's I'll put Lane Kiffin on the front, but really we're probably going to spend as much time talking about early signing day and what the Lamar Brown and Richard Anderson situations are, who has signed. Interestingly enough, Jabari Mack is a wide receiver from Destrehan. And I've known his family for a long time, since before Jabari Mack was in high school. He has been wanting to go to LSU since day one. He's fired up about LSU. John says, thank God we're done talking about the Pelicans. Look, as far as the Saints go this week, 8.5-point underdogs. I believe that is the biggest dog. Gabe, can you look that up for me right now? Tell me if that is the biggest dog of the week so far. I think that it is. The Saints 8.5-point dogs, as I said, total of 42.5. Neither one of those numbers has changed since Monday. Tyler Shough, if you remember, his first real playing experience came in the second half of the game against the Bucs in the Dome. What was that, 5 weeks ago? And he threw he threw something ridiculous, like 30 passes in like a quarter and 3 quarters. Rattler played the first series, and Gabe says it is the largest spread of the week. So Shough came in that game, and he played, like I said, I don't know, whatever it was. Rattler played the first series. He stung it up. I think it was a 3-and-out. They punted. Tampa Bay got the ball back, and then when the Saints got the ball back, they put Shough in, and the rest is history, and we've only seen Shough since. And the Saints didn't, he played okay, but I think he's improved pretty much every game that he's been out there, except for the first half of last week's game. we are going to see, and I want to put this up on the screen right now while I'm thinking about it. Saints rankings. And of these rankings, we're not going to spit them all out to you. We'll talk more about these on Friday with Zach. But the thing I find interesting about these rankings is if you look at the Saints passing offense against the Bucs passing defense, the Bucs have the 4th worst passing defense in the league. Meanwhile, they have the 6th best rushing defense. This is going to be, I'm telling you right now, if there's an over-under on passing attempts for Shough this week, whatever it is, bet the over. I don't necessarily telling you to go and bet the over on the yardage, but if there's an over-under on attempts for Shough, whatever it is, bet the over. Because this is going to be, the Saints are not going to be able to run the ball on Tampa. I think they're probably going to abandon the run. They're going to try to throw screen passes instead of run the ball. This is going to, and I'll ask Zach what he thinks, but that's going to be, again, we don't do in our best bets, we don't do prop bets. Gabe's got something for me. Let's see, what is it? 33.5 over under. That sounds like a lot, right? It sounds like a lot. It's not. I'm telling you right now. I think Tyler Shough's going to throw 40 passes in this game, maybe more than 40, because they are not going to be able to run the ball. I'm assuming Kamara's going to be out again. I have not heard. In fact, Gabe, if you can try to find, I don't think there is one yet, but if you can find a status on Kamara, maybe find a fantasy update or something. My guess is, and again, we'll know better today. I think the first injury report actually comes out later this afternoon. My guess is, though, Kamara's not going to play. There's no need to play him. I wouldn't be surprised if Kamara doesn't play again the rest of the year. But even if he does play, they are just not going to have a lot of success running the football against this team. That's why this is a very interesting game when it comes to the development of Tyler Shough. Okay. And I've said this before. I think that Shough is going to, barring the unforeseen, barring some injury or the bottom falls out. And I don't, look, injuries you never know. But I don't see the bottom falling out. I'm not saying he's been great, but he's been good enough for what the Saints want him to be. And that is potentially, and again, potentially, I'm not crowning this dude as the future at quarterback. I will say that he has a legitimate chance to be the long-term answer at quarterback. And he's going to get every chance to be that, not just the rest of the year. By the way, Bill says he lives in Santa Fe. He is a Saints fan forever. We're glad you're here. Apathy says the Bucs might be getting Mike Evans back. Very unlikely. I'd say the chances of Mike Evans playing this week under 20%. They opened his window, but I don't think so. Gabe says again. Now this is why this number jacked up. It looks people are going to want to bet the under in here, and the over under again on Tyler Shough passes attempts 33.5. Gabe says he averages 27.3 per game. Well, the over juiced to -120. I'm telling you right now, we don't do prop bets on our best bets on Friday. But if we did, I would tell you, I'm telling you, he's going to throw 40 passes. He threw I think 30 again in less than 2 quarters. Less than 2 quarters. Real quick, Corey is in the green room. We're going to get to Tulane. We're going to move on to Tulane again. I'm going to come back and probably finish with the Saints after Matt later on this afternoon. Charles says he threw 38 in the last game. 38 meaning in the last game this past week. So just because he only averages whatever at 27 or whatever it is, I'm telling you, they're going to ramp this up. The Saints will not be able to run the football against Tampa Bay. And I think at some point they're probably going to stop trying. And you got to remember, they're probably going to be behind most of this game. Gabe says plus 320 at DraftKings to throw 40 plus. Might like that. Also, by the way, I'm not sure where Gabe's getting this from, but quote, good chance that Alvin Kamara does not play on Sunday. I don't think he's going to play. I got to be honest. I would not be surprised at all if Alvin Kamara doesn't play the rest of the year. All right, it is time to move on. Again, we'll come back to the Saints a little bit later, but I want to jump into Tulane here. Lots of questions as we talk about things that are going on. And just because the headline says who's at the top of Tulane's list, that is not necessarily all I want to talk about this morning here. And we got a first-timer this morning, episode number 446. Tulane play-by-play announcer Corey Gloor, and I'm so glad to have you on the show. Thank you for spending some time. I know your life is crazy right now.
It's a long time coming. I know I've been trying to arrange this for a while based on some mutual friends that we have here. And I think I had to postpone this due to a little bit of laryngitis not too long ago. So, you caught me at what is not at all a dull week here in Uptown. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions that I can't guarantee I have any answers for, but fire away. It's good to be with you.
I'm going to say this. I'm going to say ahead of time. I understand what position you're in right now. So whatever question I have that you can't answer or dance around, as someone that's been in this business for 35 years and also a fellow play-by-play guy, as I do local high school sports around here for the last 11 years, I completely understand where you're coming from. So that is our little caveat that we get out of the way ahead of time. First, I want to talk about the American Conference Championship game first. I know you can talk about that. I find it interesting. North Texas is a 2.5-point favorite, and so they come into Ullman as a slight favorite. Do you think that's more because of the Jon Sumrall situation, and maybe because look, let's face it. Some people think that Tulane may have a tough time being focused this week. I personally don't, but I can understand why people would think that. But is North Texas generally a better team than Tulane?
I don't think that has anything to do with what is happening with Coach Sumrall this week, especially since North Texas is dealing with the exact same thing in Eric Morris. Now, his news came out earlier last week than John's did, which came out over the weekend. So North Texas had a little bit of time. In fact, they played a game since it came out that Eric Morris is moving to Oklahoma State after their season ends. And so both of these teams are dealing with their coach eventually leaving these programs. So I think that washes itself out. I think where the 2.5-point favorite for North Texas comes in is that they have just clubbed everybody this year. Like, they are putting up 45, 50 points a game, and they're winning games by 3 touchdowns throughout the course of their year. That has not been the case for Tulane in their 10-2 year. Tulane has had the harder schedule. There's no doubt about it, but they've also not exactly looked as crisp and clean for full 60-minute games as, frankly, North Texas has this year. So I'm not surprised, honestly, that North Texas is a favorite coming in here because of the way that they have performed all year in their 11-1 season. They have looked a little bit more clean, I would say, than Tulane has. I think Tulane all around has more ways that they can probably beat a team. But when North Texas does really well, they do really, really well. And that is put up bushels of points on teams, and they have not been stopped all year. And so that I'm not surprised at what the line is right now. To me, it has nothing to do with the coaching situations.
Interesting matchup too. And you talk about how Tulane has, look, I can't figure the Green Wave out. I really can't. I mean, the first part of the season, I thought they looked fantastic. I was at the Duke game, just a fantastic atmosphere. I thought that, they were super fired up to play against Mensa and played. I think there's no question that was their best game of the year, or maybe you could say the Memphis game was their best game of the year. But then they go through this lull and they have trouble even beating teams that they should be beaten up on, and then get just shellacked at UTSA, and then they turn it back on again. So tell me, which team is the real Tulane team, and which one do you think is going to show up on Friday night? For those listening after the fact, and we don't know.
I mean, they have been a fascinating team to watch all year.
They really have.
Because, in the month of September, and they had just, they opened with Northwestern, and then they struggled to close out South Alabama, who did not have a good year as the season went. Then they come here, and they had a lot that they were playing for against Duke. You just alluded to that. And then they just get run over by Ole Miss. And so you had moments of real brilliance in the non-conference slate, and they get 2 wins out of their Power 4 opponents. And then they start conference play, and they really didn't put together a complete game in conference until, you mentioned the Memphis game. That first half was the best they've looked all year. The second half was rough. Really, the Temple game 2 weeks ago was the best they've looked start to finish. That UTSA game, they got punched in the face, and they did not respond well until they got back on the field the following week. What Jon Sumrall has said as this month had gone on is that his team needed to get their lips bloodied, clearly, and that's what happened in San Antonio. So it provided a wake-up call that I think Jon Sumrall did not like to have happen, but he could tell his team needed it. They had to beat East Carolina and Army in the final minute. Army's a tricky team to play with that triple option. East Carolina had a great year. And then as this month of November went on, seemed to play better on the road than at home. And so they have been a team that, I guess the best way I could say is that they have some unbelievably talented pieces across the board. And at times it just feels a touch out of step. And so that's where I think it's been a hard team to kind of figure out, even though we're at the cusp of the postseason right now, is that we have seen them look unbelievable and we have seen them look a little bit confusing. We'll see what Friday brings with everything that's on the line.
On Fridays here during football season is the day that we make our predictions for Saints, LSU, and Tulane when they're playing, and then we have our pick'em show. But I can tell you right now, and I like to use this phrase every now and then, but if you're even thinking about betting on this game, you need to call the number, because I just don't know if there's any way to even kind of predict anything. If you told me that Tulane was going to win by 2 touchdowns, let's say, I could believe it. If you told me that Tulane was going to lose by 2 touchdowns, I tell you, I could believe it. I just don't know that there's any way to predict what's going to happen on Friday night.
I think there's clear ways about what each team wants to do to win this game.
Right.
North Texas wants to throw the ball. Tulane's pass defense has been very susceptible all year. What might be an equalizer in that is that the forecast looks really rainy. And I think Tulane would be more than okay with that, because they will want to run the ball down North Texas's throat. North Texas is the worst rush defense in the conference. And so there's very clear, like, whoever wins that battle right there, that's going to be the difference in the game. If Tulane can grind this game out, can limit the possessions, keep the ball on the ground, they're going to win a title. If North Texas can go their big play offense and also set up what is a very talented running back they have, Caleb Hawkins doesn't get the credit he deserves. A true freshman, he's got over 1,200 yards.
Right.
They try and spread you out to open him up the middle. But if they hit the big plays, if Messermaker links up with Wyatt Young, who's the best big play receiver, I think, in this league, then North Texas is going to walk out of here with a comfortable win. If Tulane can limit that and also limit the amount of time that offense is on the field, then Tulane's going to win the game. It's pretty cut and dry, honestly, what needs to happen for each team to win.
There's no question. And I just think this game's so unpredictable. You talk about what has to happen. I think all those things are obvious. I think this is a fascinating game. Even if you don't care about either one of these teams, I think it's going to be a fascinating game to watch. And the lower the scoring, and then you don't always say that for Tulane, but I think the lower the scoring favors Tulane here. If it's under 66.5, which is the total right now, then I think Tulane's got a good chance to win. If it's over, then I think North Texas does.
I think if Tulane can keep North Texas, honestly, in the low 30s,
they're
going to like where they are at the end of the night. Because that is, I'm looking at their rundown of their schedule here, and I think the lowest output they've had in a game this season is 31, and that was in a win over Navy. I mean, so that's what you're dealing with. You're not going to be able to shut down this offense, even if Mother Nature provides some help. You just got to really limit as much damage as they can do.
Well, get yourself a poncho and get out to Yulman Stadium on Friday night. It is a wonderful, and I truly mean this. I've covered high school games there. I've broadcasted high school games from there. And like I said, went to see Tulane too earlier this season, did some tailgating. Get yourself a poncho, get your rain gear, and get out to Yulman Stadium. It is a wonderful atmosphere, and it's going to be rocking on Friday night for sure. It's going to be a lot of fun. I, unfortunately, will be doing a semifinals game in high school this weekend, so I will have to monitor it while I'm going along. Now, I know. Corey, I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you, what has the mood been like around campus? Obviously, since the announcement, I don't think anyone is shocked that Jon Sumrall was a rental hire. I mean, when he came to Tulane with his up and come, you almost wanted him to be a Tulane, because that means if he was only there for 2 years, that means he was successful. And so you want to get someone that, obviously, you want Tulane to take that next step and become one of these power schools and I think they can be. I think that it could happen in the next 5 to 10 years. We'll see. But with Sumrall specifically, I don't think it's that big of a shock that he's only there 2 years. But what is the mood like? Just the fact that it's got to be bittersweet. You're losing your coach, but at the same time, if you win this game, and I argue that this is the second most important game in recent Tulane football history that's coming up on Friday night, because you have a chance to go to the playoffs. But just talk about what the mood has been like around town, around campus.
You hit on all of it there, Jim. I think, and I just had this discussion with the radio crew. They just wrapped up practice here. Tulane football did, and we were sitting in the radio booth watching practice. And I think Steve Barrios, my color guy, who's been Hall of Famer here, been here forever. He made the case that this is the most important game in Tulane football history. You're probably the 2022 conference championship is maybe where you're thinking there, just to kind of get Tulane.
Or the Rose Bowl. I mean the Cotton Bowl.
Or the Cotton Bowl, yeah. But this is win, and you don't just win a conference championship, you are actually playing for a national championship. Like, I mean, that is on the line here. And so I think it is weird to wrap your head around that Tulane's in this position. But that is what's on the line. Outside of that, so I think that's created a slightly different dynamic around campus and around the fan base here because, everyone knew that Jon Sumrall was not going to be here long term. I had that exact same conversation with fans 2 years ago when he got hired who were worried about this circumstance. And I was like, if he's going to be here for 2 years, it's going to be a great 2 years. And
exactly.
So far, it's been a pretty great 2 years. He's got 2 more boxes to check that he had in his introductory press conference. That both can happen Friday night. And I know just talking to the man how important it is to him to try and get this done. So I think there's a better acceptance of what's happening here with Coach Sumrall as to maybe 2 years ago with Coach Fritz. And that whole week lead up to that championship game in 2023. And I don't fault Willie Fritz for trying to do this, but he's trying to block everything out and try and ignore what was clearly swirling. And it created a very odd dynamic as that week went. And you could see it on the field against SMU. The fact that this is out, the fact that we know this is happening, that it came out 6 days before the championship game is taking the field, I think allows certainly this team to just zero in on this. And they know that there's no uncertainty. They're not going to have fans at halftime telling them that their coach is leaving, like what happened 2 years ago. And I think that hopefully allows this fan base to zero in on this as well, knowing just how massive the stakes are for this game. Because if Tulane loses, John's probably gone Saturday. Like it's that simple now. If Tulane wins, then he's here for at least another 2 weeks, and he is coaching a playoff game. I mean, there's never been an American Conference championship game with this much on the line here for each one of these programs, because it's the same exact deal for North Texas.
Yes, it is. Eric Morris also going, exactly.
It's a shame, to be totally blunt, because we're directly involved with it. For nationally televised audience on ABC on Friday, they're gobbling this up. There's no doubt. It's challenging to be involved with it and to be a fan of these two teams right now. But know that what Friday could be and the chance that exists here could supersede everything that we're talking about right now, because there's a very real chance that in a couple of weeks, Tulane is playing for a chance to go to a national championship.
So you think that if Tulane loses, that Jon Sumrall will not coach the bowl game?
I would be totally surprised if that happens for John or for Eric Morris. I mean, the verbiage has been pretty clear with these announcements from these two schools about this Friday and then a college football playoff game. There was no mention of a bowl game. And so, you know, however you want to, if you want to use the term generous at all for Florida and Oklahoma State in this situation, which I know could maybe be used a little bit too loosely, but the fact that they are granting these two coaches the opportunity to coach this game, and one of them to coach in a couple of weeks, with signing day today, as you and I are talking, and transfer portal movement begins 5 days after a new coach is hired, which means it begins for those schools right now. Like, the fact that they're allowing this, does speak highly of kind of their spot here in this as well. But for a bowl game that will not have nearly as much on the line, I'd be floored if either of those schools would allow that.
How is Coach Sumrall handling, you speak about early signing day, which is today, for those of you joining us late and didn't hear us talk about it earlier, and we will talk about it on the LSU side in a little while with Matt Moscona, here with Corey Gloor, play-by-play announcer for the Tulane Green Wave. And how is Coach Sumrall handling the early signing day with Florida while he's still wearing green and blue?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I talked to him a little bit about it this morning in his office, and he just said flatly he's not getting a ton of sleep. I mean, the recruiting staff here at Tulane is the one in charge of signing this class here today. Now, there have been some commits that have either opted to not sign today and wait till February, or they have flipped already. We saw that Sunday. One of the Tulane commits did already flip to Florida. And I'm sure there's been some previous and prior communication with the Florida staff about getting that class locked in here as well. We know Jon was in Gainesville on Monday to meet with the current team and meet with that staff and try and get those ducks in a row for today. Just based on my conversations with Coach Sumrall this morning, there's one thing that has his focus at this stage, his personal focus at this stage, and that is Friday night. The staff that is here, that is in charge of putting the classes together and getting pen to paper, they are working on that right now. And we've seen the announcements already come out this morning about who is signing already. But for Jon Sumrall, Friday has 100% undivided attention. And so that it's no doubt a deeply strange week for him. But that's also the bed that you make, and he's laying in it right now. And so he knew that this was coming. I don't think he's too upset about having to juggle all this because there's a lot of good things on the horizon for him. But yeah, we'll see. There's obviously not going to be the full signing class that Tulane is hoping for 3 weeks ago, but we'll see what they're able to retain.
Wouldn't it be a little ironic if Tulane were to win this week and weird things happen and the karma gods come along and Tulane heads to Oxford, Mississippi? I
saw your tweet on that. Yeah. And we just kind of floated out a little bit, just talking amongst ourselves here in the radio booth as well, like how unique that would be. I think, if TV executives had their way, then maybe they would go for that. I know right now the winner of this game is slated to maybe go to Oregon based on the playoff rankings yesterday, which would create a unique storyline if Tulane makes it with Chris Hampton, the DC there. And also that was where Mekhi Hughes transferred to and had no success. And so we'll see. Tulane's got to worry about business Friday before they worry about a couple weeks.
There's no question. That's true. You've been to Eugene for baseball, haven't you?
So a couple of years ago when Tulane went to the Corvallis Regional in 2024, I guess, Jay Ullman coached at Oregon for a long time. So we flew into Eugene and Tulane practiced there at Oregon.
Okay.
So I've not been there for a game, but I have toured Autzen Stadium and their facilities and their baseball stadium. So I've been to their campus and I've seen their building before, but I've never been there for a game.
Well, I hope you get a chance to do that in a couple of weeks or go to Oxford. We'll see what happens. Now, I have to ask you, obviously, questions you may or may not be able to answer, or you can dance around, answer them whatever way you wish here, Corey.
Sure.
But obviously, the headline here at the bottom of this crawl, this lower third, is who is at the top of Tulane's list. And I will tell you that, as you mentioned, we both have mutual people that we know inside the Tulane, and I don't need to mention any names because it doesn't matter who the names are, but not just them, but I've heard from other people from Tulane that at the top of their list is LSU defensive coordinator Blake Baker, and also Billy Napier. Billy Napier has been mentioned, and I think both of those guys are up there. And I don't really think it's that big of a secret to say that those two guys are up there, but what can you say about what your feelings are about if those are two guys that would fit in well at Tulane?
Yeah,
one of those guys.
I'm hearing those same names. You might not be surprised to know that the radio team is not exactly a high priority to keep in the loop with this stuff. But I've heard that as well. I do know that Coach Baker was on campus early on this week. That's been well reported by this stage. And so the fact that he is one of the early candidates shouldn't be a surprise, not just with what he did at LSU and what he's shown at LSU with those defenses, but he played here in the early aughts. And so there is that bit of familiarity, even though two very vastly different programs exist now from when Blake Baker played here at Tulane to right now. But I think there's definitely an appeal there to talk to him, and he might be at the top of the list. I'm not sure. I think Billy Napier, I've heard that name as well. I think that would make sense just based on what he showed in his time in Lafayette, and coming back to Louisiana to kind of oversee a program like this. I'd be interested to see just if that happens, how the reaction would be about essentially a swap with coaches with Florida. But I think I'm hearing those two names here as well. We'll see about, I know Charles Huff with Southern Miss. That's the name that I'm seeing a lot of fans talk about here as well. Former defensive coordinators that used to coach here. We just talked about Chris Hampton at Oregon, but Shough Wood at Texas Tech is out there. We'll see. I'm pretty much hearing the same thing that you are, seeing what fans are putting out there. What happens, I would imagine they'll want this somewhat figured out, hopefully by the weekend, because we just saw South Florida land their guy today in the Ohio State OC, Brian Hartline. Again, today's signing day. You're already losing this here with the new coaching staff. But, once you hire a new coach, players have 5 days to enter the portal once they meet the new coach. And so having next week to maybe have those discussions with the new coach in place when you're going to be off the field, whether it's a playoff or a bowl game you're getting set for, I think that is going to be something that Tulane will look very diligently at to try and get someone in place by then. Who that will be, your guess is as good as mine.
Tulane fans just have to be excited that, you're not excited that your coach is leaving, but this program is in as good of a place now as probably has been since before I was born, and I'm an old dude. And so the fact that Tulane is in position now I'm not just saying this. I truly believe that they can take the next step and become a perennial power. I think. They could be that school that's in the non-Power 5, that the one you're always looking to, that people are saying, what is Tulane doing this year? I think that's where this program is going. So I think that only helps you when you're trying to attract the names like a Blake Baker or a Billy Napier, who, obviously those would be two big names to come in there.
Yeah, I think, just look at what we've seen here. And I think Tulane and James Madison are the two right now that can claim that they're the most stable group of 5, group of 6 programs that exist right now in the country, because both of these schools lost their coaches halfway through their runs here over the last 4 years, and they have not missed a beat. And this is with all the crazy roster turnover that exists, and now people elbowing their way in their respective conferences. So, it will not just come down to who gets hired to be the leader of this program over the next few days, but it will also be just how the resource expansion continues here at Tulane. They are expanding on a regular basis right now, and that will have to stay constant in order for Tulane to stay on stable ground in a time where it's very hard to do. I don't think it's a surprise at all when you see Tulane now, 4 straight runs to a championship game. They're seeing 4 different opponents in this 4 years, and 2 of the opponents that they've seen aren't even in this league anymore. And so that shows you, I think that should give some illumination as to how impressive this has been here, to take what Willie Fritz was able to do, to keep it going with Jon Sumrall, and now be in a spot where you're a highly coveted spot in college football. That, when I got here in 2021, was not even a dream that you could conceive of, and now here we are.
There's no question. You came on at the right time. You've had a lot of fun and a lot to enjoy. Now, let's see if baseball and basketball can follow suit. We're getting there. Just a couple more minutes with you, Corey. Mark Gapsey says, can you send him a Tulane City? Boy, everybody loves those City Edition helmets, don't they?
Oh my God! I didn't catch the name quickly there. It popped up. Mark. I have had no access to any of those. I've seen them in the equipment shed. I even saw 1 or 2 in John's office a few weeks ago, right after that game. And I asked how he got them, and he said he had to buy them. And so, and based on how much those were going for, that is out of this broadcaster's budget. So I cannot send you not even a face mask off of those.
Not even a sticker.
I can't even chip the T off of the street tile sticker and send you that. If I touch that, I'll be arrested.
You got a better chance of probably going walk somewhere down Ferret and actually taking a T off of the sidewalk there, Corey. You can do that. You can just get yourself some spackling knife or whatever and just pop it up or something.
Based on my time with New Orleans infrastructure, I don't even need a knife.
You probably don't. You just kick it
out.
Yeah,
yes.
Just give a little kick. That's for sure. All right. My last question for you before I let you go, and there are a lot of people saying, I got a couple comments that I'm going to get to after Corey leaves. Matt Moscona's due to come on in about 5 minutes or so. But my last question is, will Tulane and LSU ever play again in football? We need to make this happen.
If Jon was sticking around, I know he and Lane Kiffin are very good friends. So they might have been able to work something out. I don't know who's coming in, obviously. But it's up to athletic directors to decide that. This is football scheduling's out of their control. I would love to see it. I would definitely be surprised. I don't think LSU would have interest in playing inside Yeoman Stadium. In fact, I know that's been discussed.
That stinks.
They would want to play in the Dome, and I don't necessarily think Tulane would be too keen on that. And so I don't know. Never say never with conferences going to 9 league games. That cuts out opportunities for these types of contests. I think a lot of people would love to see this matchup back on the calendar on both ends of the spectrum here, just the fan bases, especially now with what Tulane is. This is not a layup game for an LSU anymore. And so I do think both fan bases, I think this city would love to see that occur. I mean, that just happened in women's basketball here, and the place sold out in 5 minutes. And so this is a matchup that I think college football misses nowadays, these types of games. Would love to see it happen. I'd be surprised if it does.
And I would be surprised too, but this is what I grew up with. And, my entire life until I was in my either late 20s, early 30s. I don't remember exactly when it stopped, but I mean, Tulane and LSU ended the season playing against one another. Now I know it's never going to go back to where that's when it happens. They're not going to end the season playing against one another, but I don't care if they play in September, October, whenever they play. It just needs to happen. Tulane and LSU need to play each other in football. But I agree, it's not Tulane's fault. It's definitely LSU's there. We'll see. Maybe we'll get lucky.
We'll see. We can make some decisions happen here, right?
Absolutely. Corey, enjoy the broadcast on Friday. Have a great call, and we hope to have you on real soon. And if Tulane wins this week, there's so much to talk about with Tulane. We would love to have you back in the very near term. So please this is your first time, but let's make sure your second time isn't long away.
First time, not the last time, Mr. Derry. Right.
Corey, thank you so much. Corey Gloor, we'll talk to you very soon.
Thank you, guys.
Corey Gloor, play-by-play man for the Tulane Green Wave. Again, we've been trying to have him on. We've kind of gone back and forth the last month or month and a half or so, and it just never happened. It just no fault of anyone's, just never happened that way. So Matt is scheduled to come on at noon. I'm just giving you a heads up. I have not heard from him today. I talked to him yesterday. We're good. I sent him a text earlier and have not heard back. And I know he's super busy. I hope he, let's just see what happens. There are a couple things that I want to talk about real quick and related to this that I didn't necessarily bring up while Corey was on, because I didn't necessarily think it was a perfect question to ask. First off, my friend Keith Tierney, what's going on? Cruising Oifs in the house. Man, great to see you. Boom, Dave Gordon. Yeah, absolutely. Slugger's here. Oh, God. I'm going to show it. LSU will never travel to Tulane Stadium. LSU wants a home and away series. LSU would lose too much money. They ain't going to lose jack, dude. Slugger. LSU ain't losing money for nothing. I mean, come on. I don't care. They should play. I don't necessarily disagree with you that, okay, make it happen in the Dome. And I think if they even said, okay, the only way we'll play is in the Dome, but it's a home and home, I think Tulane wouldn't love it, but I think they would do it. I think. I don't know. They should do it. It's got to happen some kind of way. All right, here's a question that I knew I was going to get at some point today. I alluded to it earlier. Virgil Boyd. Why aren't they demonizing Jon Sumrall like they are Lane Kiffin? Because they're two completely, utterly different situations. I've said this, and there's no other way to say it. You're comparing oranges to elephant nuts. They're not in the same boat. They're not in the same state. They're not in the same planet, stratosphere. First of all, Lane Kiffin feel the sentiment, okay? Let's just say, for whatever sake, that they did allow Lane Kiffin to say, you know what? We're going to let you do the bowl game. Did you see when Lane Kiffin got on the plane to come to Baton Rouge, what the response was from the Oxford? They were giving him a single finger salute, and it wasn't this one. Okay? When he was, do you know what it would be like? It would be way more of a distraction. And this is just one of the reasons. It would be way more of a distraction than it would be worthwhile to keep Lane Kiffin on. They don't want him there. I'm telling you right now. Once he said no, the Ole Miss fans were like, get the hell out of here. Or the majority of them, I promise you. And it sounds like the players were in kind of the same boat. You can't do it. Not only that, these are hated rivals. LSU and Ole Miss are hated. By the way, real quick, I just saw this, Gabe. Breaking news. Richard Anderson just signed with LSU, so there you go. I was wrong. Good news there. That's one 5-star that you can say. He has signed. The Carr defensive lineman is signed with LSU. Good job, Bryce Brown. Get him to go there. Oh, yeah, as Apathy says. And tried to run Lane off the road, allegedly. I mean, look. It would have been nothing but one giant mess. And again, not only that, as I'm going to switch sides here. And we are waiting on Matt Moscona to come. I'm going to text him real quick, as you know, you're not supposed to do this stuff on live TV. There we go. Just think of the mess that it would be. How can he possibly coach his team? Oh, there he is right there. And the last thing I'm going to say before I bring Matt on is, how could he possibly coach his team? And you can't coach Ole Miss and recruit for LSU at the same. It's just not possible. There was no way for it to happen. So again, besides the fact that the Rebels fans pretty much didn't want him there, just wasn't going to happen. All right. I am happy to bring on here on the Dattitude podcast. I don't think I've had you on since the Super Bowl there, Matt. But I'm so glad to have you on this morning. Matt Moscona wears several hats. Right now he's wearing LouisianaSports.net hat, but he wears all sorts of hats. And he is here on the Dattitude podcast this morning. Well, now this afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Moscona.
Hey, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing well. Like you. It is crazy times, but crazier for you, I'm sure. And I have been really, I got to say this, and I'm not just throwing this out here because you're on my screen right now, but I have been following everything that you've been doing. You have been on top of this LSU situation from the get-go. You've done a wonderful job with it. And look, hats off to you, sir, for following this. And you talked about Florida being 10 days behind the cycle. You were basically 6 to 10 days ahead of everyone else, and you did a really good job with it. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you. It's very kind. It's been a long 6 weeks since Brian Kelly was fired, and through all the twists and turns. Been through a lot of these coaching searches for football coaches at LSU. But man, this one was so different because of all of the different variables. The governor, the university president being appointed, and then Verge, was he interim? Was he full-time? Just everything that went into it. And then obviously just the uniqueness of the situation with Lane Kiffin. And Jim, it's like, it's unprecedented because we've never had a 12-team playoff. This is the second year of the 12-team playoff. So there's never been an opportunity for something like this to happen. And I'm sure it'll happen again unless they change the calendar, which hopefully they do.
My friend UBN says, woohoo, finally a smart guy on the show. Well, we've had a bunch of smart asses on the show. We definitely got now a smart guy on the show. All right. Real quick, how many, I like to ask you this every time you come on. How many morning scones have you done now in a row? Do you know the answer?
I'll tell you in 1 second. Today was episode 2,867.
That is insane. between taking care of your family, sicknesses and illnesses, vacations, and breaking news, and being man, it's amazing. I don't know. I definitely 100%. Not only could I not do it, I have no desire to even think about doing that.
Man, it's kind of one of those things where, like, I see you're on episode 446.
Yeah.
Jim, it's one of those things where it just becomes part of your day. Like, if you wake up and you brush your teeth every day, it just becomes habitual. It's just a habitual part of my day now. And I've done it every day for 7, 8 years. I don't know how long it's been. It's 2018, I think. So coming up on 8 years.
How do you think you're going to feel with, obviously there's going to be a day that it comes like, all right, I just can't do it today. How do you think you're going to feel on that day?
So what I've been asked that a bunch, as you can imagine. And for those who don't know, it's a live stream I do every morning called Morning Scone on my YouTube and Facebook channel. And I don't miss a day, like weekends, holidays, ever. I don't miss a day. It's 2,800, whatever I just said, consecutive days. In Forrest Gump, and this would be lost on some young people who haven't seen the movie, but whenever he runs, he's like, running. Yeah, he started running, and he's like, I got to the end of my street, so I kept going. I ran clear across Alabama. I said, I come this far, I might as well keep. I ran to an ocean. So I figured turn around and go to the next. And then one day he's just in the middle of the desert, and he's like, I'm pretty tired.
I'll go home now.
I'll go home now. That's what it's going to be. It's just going to be one day I go, you know what? I'm good. It's been a good run.
Could be your logo, the smiley face with the mud all over it. That could be perfect logo for you. All right, let's get serious again. And I got to ask you, just your overall thoughts for people maybe who haven't seen you, just your overall and have covered this, like you said, nonstop for the last 6 weeks. Your overall thoughts on Lane Kiffin. I have made mine clear. I am very skeptical about this. I know I'm in the minority when it comes to Lane Kiffin. I know what he can do to a program, and I hope I'm completely wrong, and I hope everything is sunshine and roses here. But your overall thoughts of what Lane Kiffin can do and may do for the LSU program.
Well, if you look at his body of work, there is an undeniable truth that wherever he goes, offense follows. That's just, and everywhere he has been, they have been exceptional on offense. The lowest they've been rated in scoring offense during his time at Ole Miss is 35th, and I think the lowest in total offense is 13th in the last 5 years. So you will be good on offense, and you were atrocious on offense this year. I mean, arguably the worst LSU offense ever. And we've seen some bad offenses during the Miles era. So that's one thing. But, there was a clip going around of me from before the LSU Ole Miss game this year where, I picked LSU to win emphatically. And one of the reasons I said, you have a better head coach. So Lane Kiffin is a brilliant offensive mind. He's not a championship winning head coach. And to this point in his career, he's won a couple of Conference USA titles at FAU, but he has to prove he can win at the highest level. But he's also going to be at a place where for the first time in his career, he's going to have the resources to do that. Now, he was at USC, so I do want to give that caveat as the head coach. It was a weird time at SC, post Pete Carroll, sanctions. Some people forget a lot of that context at the time he was there, but in any event, but there's also the point of your reputation and your resume is what it is, and he typically leaves places. It's usually a messy breakup. So, Jim, but if you want to look at the positive side, or if you want to spin it, I mean, that was Nick Saban's MO his whole career. He never stayed at any place longer than 5 years, ever, until he got to Alabama. And he was there for a decade and a half and won 6 titles in 12 years. So I think if you're LSU, what you're hoping for is that this is the stop in Lane Kiffin's career that's akin to Saban at Alabama, where you go, okay, you're finally at the destination where you have everything you need. Now go win a lot over a long period of time. We'll see if you will.
I will say this, even though this was definitely not my first choice. Not that it matters what my first choice was, but wasn't my first choice. And I've said again, my skepticism. However, I did kind of enjoy the meltdown in Oxford just a little. Yeah, you have to kind of enjoy that just a little bit, right? We're not supposed to be petty, but
I think of this in 2 ways. Number one, I can really empathize with Ole Miss fans. Because in a way, LSU fans went through this with Nick. It was a guy who won at a high level, won a championship. Now, Lane didn't win a championship at Ole Miss, but just won it at a clip that you hadn't won in a long time. Loved your city. His family loved your city, loved to be there. You gave him every resource, support, everything he needed to be successful. And it wasn't enough because he longed for something else. Like LSU couldn't provide the NFL for Nick Saban, and he wanted to scratch that itch. And Ole Miss can't consistently provide the resources Lane Kiffin needs to win championships. Proving he can win a lot there. But there's, Jim, the example that I've given this an example several times. So a few weeks ago when Ole Miss played Florida, it was, by many accounts, the biggest game that they'd had at Ole Miss. They set a program attendance record with more than 68,000 people at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. And I said, the same day that Ole Miss played the biggest game in the history of their program, the largest crowd, the largest attended game in the history of Ole Miss football, LSU was 5-4, playing a 2-7 Arkansas team at 11:45 in the morning, and had more people in Tiger Stadium. I mean, that's the difference. It's not shade at Ole Miss. It's just an illustration of the difference between the two programs.
I don't think there's any question about that. And I get that. And, that leads me into, one thing that you've been talking about, and it's the question you asked at the Lane Kiffin press conference. Explain to everybody the difference of the money that LSU is bringing in NIL-wise. And there actually is it's kind of like going into a new era of NIL, even though it's early, it's in its infancy in the grand scheme of things. But just talk about that a little bit and explain that a little bit.
So there's a giant misconception about where the state of NIL currently is. So NIL had become pay for play. Boosters were pumping money into collectives, and collectives were paying players. You want to back up offensive linemen and write them a $200,000 check, you could do it. You want to go spend $3 million on a quarterback, write them a check. Like, it was that easy. Not literally a check, Jim. I don't know how many people other than my mother-in-law still use checks. But,
right.
You know what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Now,
I actually just got one yesterday.
There you go, babe. The check don't bounce, brother.
Exactly.
I had one. I just held up that check.
It just happens to be sitting right in front of me. I didn't want to show the front side of it.
How about that prop right there? We all saw your signature, though. Now we can copy it.
No, that's a shame. You're right. I need to put some like blur over that, I guess.
But so when the House settlement went into effect over the summer, collectives can no longer just pay student athletes. Every NIL deal over $600 has to go through the NIL Go clearinghouse, which is run by Deloitte. So there's an independent third party. And basically what happens if you're the school, you have to submit to say, okay, the Dattitude podcast wants to do an NIL deal with Trades Green, and you want to pay him $100,000. Well, the clearinghouse has to look and say, is this market value for this player what they're doing on this show? And if they say no, then that deal gets denied.
How do they figure that out, Matt?
That's why Deloitte people are, I guess, smart. They have lots of metrics. They can figure that out. I mean, we can all determine, CPMs, market value, and how to price ads and things like that, and what a market value is for someone. I mean, that's for other people to decide. My argument is your market value is what someone's willing to pay. So I think they should all be approved. Whatever. I don't get to make the decision. So anyway, all that to say, it's one thing now for like Ole Miss if the Grove Collective could go raise $40 million to fund a roster. But it doesn't matter if you raise $40 million if you don't have legitimate NIL deals to get that money to the student athletes. So LSU for 2 years now has been working with Playfly Sports. I'm going super deep into this. This is probably losing people. I apologize. But LSU's been working for 2 years on a program to do just that, to do legitimate NIL deals through their media rights holder, Playfly Entertainment, and they call their program NILSU Max. So they are so far ahead of the game with this new form of NIL than everybody else. And you heard Lane Kiffin's answer in the press conference. That was the giant differentiator. The money that he's getting paid was equal among his offers. He said what was not equal was the NIL plan. And that, I think, pushed LSU over the edge.
How many others, and you say better than everyone else. But how many other schools? I would imagine the major schools are at least trying to do something similar. That and I don't know if you even know the answer to this. If you don't, then I understand. But are there a lot of other schools that are doing this sort of thing?
Yeah. So keep in mind, like with Playfly, for example, that's LSU's rights dealer. So if you think about like the LSU Sports Radio Network or signage in the stadium or anything like that, Playfly goes and sells all those sponsorships. Okay, so they're the ones with the relationships with the businesses to go sell all that. And then they get a cut and they sell it for LSU, right? So LSU basically, I'm simplifying this, but said, hey, could you do the same thing for athletes? You have these relationships with all these businesses. Could you do the same thing for our student athletes with NIL? Well, Playfly is doing similar structures like that with a lot of programs now. LSU was just first, and they were way, way, way out ahead in front.
Okay, makes sense. And they are going to be able to understand the metrics and understand what's probably going to get approved and what wouldn't get approved ahead of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a huge part of it is knowing how to structure what something is for market value. Like, I mean, for example, everybody saw that. I hope you know if I mentioned it. Like, so there was a Raising Cane's ad this year that had Garrett Nussmeier, Archie Manning, and Cooper Manning. You know the ad. We've all seen it 1,000 times during football season. Well, that was a national ad. That was a national ad that ran where Raising Cane's did an NIL deal with those two student athletes to be on their commercial. So that's, for example, something like that, or Garrett Nussmeier doing a deal with Beats headphones or something like that. Like those types of deals, national deals, can be done through that, or even something that's more locally focused.
If Todd Graves wants to sponsor the Dattitude podcast, by the way, he's more than welcome to. We will find a nice big chunk of a spot on the screen for him if he's interested. We'll talk about that later. All right, let's get into real quickly, and I don't want to take too much more of your time. I know you're crazy with early signing day, but speaking of early signing day, breaking news during this show: Richard Anderson. We were worried about, he committed from Edna Carr High School. Bryce Brown, helped shove him across the finish line. He is now signed, but U-High's Lamar Brown, another 5-star defensive lineman, has not committed. He's committed, but he has not signed. Just talk about the status of Lamar Brown and whether he's waiting to see he's waiting to see what's going to happen at LSU with the assistant coaching staff. But just talk about where early signing day is right now, especially with those two guys. Well, obviously we know the answer to one of them.
Well, so with Richard, remember they're in a dead period now. So while prospects can talk to the coaches on the phone, they can't meet in person. So Richard Anderson's never got to go meet Lane Kiffin in person during this process, obviously. And and there's two things that were really delaying. One was the uncertainty around if Frank Wilson's going to be on staff, and Frank's been the primary recruiter for Big Rich. And then the other thing was he doesn't know who his defensive line coach is going to be.
Right.
So Kyle Williams, it sounds like, probably won't be back on staff.
Right.
So I think that was a big part of it. Like, he wanted clarity on that. So Richard wasn't going to flip. He was just going to wait. And had a conversation with one of Richard's representatives and Bryce Brown yesterday about this. So these are things that I was told yesterday on the record. So he was going to wait, get to know the staff throughout December, make a visit in January when things opened up again, and then ultimately enroll in school in the middle of January for the spring semester. Well, last night, Bryce Brown, Richard Anderson's representatives, went to football ops and had a 3-hour meeting with Lane Kiffin, Blake Baker, and Billy Glasscock, the GM, to sort of get some clarity and hash some things out. And I did have a conversation last night with Richard's reps, and then via text with Bryce Brown as well, that they came out feeling much better, like there was a bunch of clarity. And they were going to express that to Richard. He was going to sleep on and make a decision today. And ultimately, now we know he's decided to sign, which is fantastic news for LSU, because he's the number one defensive tackle in the country from New Orleans. You want to keep that guy. So that's huge. The other one with Lamar Brown, I was told similarly, Lamar was one of Lamar's reps was supposed to visit with LSU staff earlier today. Probably have a very similar conversation, I would imagine. And Lamar's been pot committed all along. The other thing, Jim, to remember, all these guys now have high school NIL deals. Like I know this, I don't mean to confuse the issue here, but the collective can still do high school NIL deals where the collective can just pay high school prospects.
That's right. The LHSA approved that, I think 3 years ago.
Yes. So all of these guys, especially the premier prospects, are getting money already, and they all have buyouts in those contracts whereby if they were to flip, they would have to reimburse the money they've been paid. So now wherever they flip to could certainly choose to pay that for them,
right?
But it does complicate things a bit. So I think that's one big reason why Lamar has been committed all along. I do think they get it done with Lamar Brown. Hopefully they get it done today, but I have not, as of right now, heard an update on that.
And it's a weird time because Lamar Brown and Richard Anderson are both still playing in the Louisiana High School Athletic Association playoffs. U-High season probably going to come to an end this week as they play St. Charles. It was just crazy good. And Carr is the best team in the state and one of the best teams in the country. I'd be shocked if they don't win the Division I state championship. So we'll find out about that. But there you go. You think Catholic High is going to do it, huh? You think they're going to do it?
A little breaking news for you.
We've seen Carr lose games they weren't supposed to lose before and pack 2 Catholics, so it's not like it would be the first time that it's
played a great semifinal game last year. 21-19 was the final. The Bears missed a 2-point conversion, would have tied it at the end of the game. But breaking news here, Jim.
All right.
If the Bears pull the upset and beat Edna Carr to advance to the Dome for the state championship, the former voice of the Catholic High Bears will be coming out of retirement to call the game in the Dome a week from Saturday. So that's me, by the way.
Is that what I say? Is that you? Are you Well, I am the play-by-play voice of the Archbishop Shough Eagles, so I got to call last year's state championship.
I called Catholic games from 2008 to 2015 when Catholic beat Rummel and won their first state championship.
Yeah.
So that was the last game I called.
That game as well.
Family, ultimately I had to give something back to my family, and Friday nights ended up being that. But so Dixon McMakin, who's also a state rep, is the current voice of the Bears, and he had a prior obligation with his wife's family.
Okay.
On that Saturday. So I just say that's terrible planning. You have to anticipate the Bears being the state championship now.
You really do. I mean, that is weird. And I'll shameless plug. I'm a play-by-play announcer on the side for Varsity Sports Now, which is also Catholic High is an affiliate school of VSN. So very proud to have Catholic. Yeah, if Catholic, whoever wins that game is going to play St. Augustine, the winner of St. Augustine and Curtis. So look. That whoever wins and whoever gets to the Dome, that Division I state championship game is going to be a can't miss kind of game. It's going to be a fun one for sure. All right. You talked real quick about Blake Baker, and you talk about some things that's going on, and Blake Baker's got an interesting. What I hear through, I know multiple Tulane boosters. And I'm just going to say that I know that Blake Baker, as far as the boosters go, I know you talked this morning about maybe the AD doesn't necessarily want Blake Baker. Maybe the AD wants an experienced head coach. But I know that the boosters that I talked to, Blake Baker is number 1 on their list. He may have an interesting decision to make. It's probably going to be about the same amount of money, $3.5 to $4 million, somewhere around there is likely what he's gonna make, no matter whether he decides to stay at LSU. Do you want to stay at LSU as defensive coordinator, or do you want to be Tulane's head coach? It's going to be, if that is the case, it's going to be one heck of a decision for Blake Baker to make.
Yeah, I think if you're the athletic director, that's a real challenge, because as I understand, he would prefer Billy Napier, having gone with a guy with head coaching experience. But the boosters, there's people close to that program that want Blake Baker to get the job. So the same thing that you and I hear in the same thing. It'll be fascinating. Blake is telling people around here that he intends to stay. But the caveat I always give, Jim, with all these things is, man, until the ink is dry on the contract,
exactly.
It ain't over. I mean, until ink is dry and some other dude standing at that podium. I mean, I would find it hard to believe that if Blake was offered the opportunity to go be a head coach, which he has stated publicly is a goal, and of course it is,
it's his alma mater. Yeah,
at his alma mater. I mean, I think he'd be hard pressed to pass on that job. Now, I do know Blake loves it at LSU. I know this year was frustrating because the defense played so well and they got no complimentary help from the offense. That would change with Lane Kiffin here, like we just discussed. You'd have an opportunity to win big. And I do know also, Jim, that Blake's family they really like Baton Rouge as well. And they have young children, and so you'd have to uproot him from school. Could he commute? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of family dynamics there in place, right? But I don't know what Blake will do, but the job would have to be offered first. And I don't know that it has been as of right now. My guess is if they offer, he would take it. But I don't know that is going to happen. So we'll wait and see. And I think one other caveat from the LSU perspective is if Blake does leave, the guy who would have very likely been at the top of the wish list for Lane Kiffin was DJ Durkin. As I understand it, DJ was not pumped that he didn't get the Auburn job full time, but yesterday he agreed to an extension to stay at Auburn. And remember, Durkin was Lane Kiffin's defensive coordinator for his first couple of years at Ole Miss. So that would have been the most obvious replacement. And now if Baker leaves, you're going a little further down the list. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
We had Corey Gloor on before you this morning, the Tulane play-by-play announcer, and he was very politically correct and trying to dance around who what the answer is. They threw some other names in there as well, but I really think it's one of those two guys. I would be surprised at this point. I know people like to dream that it's going to be Coach O, but it's not going to be Coach O. It's going to be one of those two guys.
Yeah, the four names that I heard were the two we mentioned, Shannon Dawson and Neil Brown. Those are the four names I heard.
And he talked about the other two as well. So it's going to be interesting. He thinks it'll be done by this weekend. He thinks that it could be announced as early as Saturday, obviously after Tulane plays in the American Conference Championship game. And lastly, Matt, just talk a little bit. We just touched on Coach O. Do you think there is any chance that he comes back to LSU and works for Lane Kiffin? That would be an interesting scenario.
Yeah, I do think that's realistic. There was a report last week from Matt Zenitz at CBS that LSU was open to it. And I'll tell you, Jim, I have not had anybody at LSU in that athletic department, coaches, administrators, anybody, tell me that they've green lighted that or given that a thumbs up. Now, my guess is you hire Lane Kiffin, you pay him $90 million, you're going to let him assemble the staff he wants to assemble, even if it's a former coach. I think most of that talk about Ed Orgeron has largely been agent driven from Orgeron's side. And I get that. That's what agents are supposed to do. You're supposed to get your client's name in the mix for jobs. Right. I mean, that's how you create a market and create demand. So that's what good agents do. I haven't heard that about Ed Orgeron from anyone credible at LSU. I do know as of Monday that Ed Orgeron was in Baton Rouge, that he was in Miami. I think might have gotten a call to say, can you be in Baton Rouge? So he drove here and was here maybe since the weekend. I don't know if he still is. But he still has his house in the University Club in Baton Rouge. And it's kind of been waiting on that call. So Lane Kiffin joked during his press conference that he called Ed Orgeron when he was passing by Tiger Stadium and told that funny story about, man, this place just makes me want to talk like you. But they get along. Look, I mean, they worked together at SC, and then Ed worked under Kiffin at both Tennessee and SC. So, I mean, they've shared a staff together for a decade at various stops, and they get along really well. And Ed's an outstanding defensive line coach and an elite recruiter, and he would be an asset to the staff. Big question is, would he be willing to sort of could Ed Orgeron humble himself to walk back in that building where he used to take the elevator to the second floor, the big corner office with the balcony? And
I've known Ed Orgeron for quite a while. I covered his sons at Mandeville, and he was always very good to me. And I could tell you, he bleeds purple and gold, and I know it would be hard to do. I've worked for people that work for me, and it's not easy at first, but you get used to it, and I think he would be fine with it. And just to be back there wearing that purple and gold, I think he'd be great with it. We'll see if he has the opportunity. Real quick, Frank Wilson, is he going to – and look, I hate these stupid rumors, by the way. But Frank Wilson, is he going to stay at LSU? I think if he wasn't going to, that it wouldn't have to let him coach the bowl game. The fact that he's even still here, I think, says a lot about Frank Wilson just in general.
Yeah, I don't know, Jim, all the rumors. I mean, I don't – we talked about it earlier. I create so much content, it's hard for me to consume. Yeah, I don't spend a lot of time listening to and watching other stuff. I don't mean that to be dismissive or disrespectful. I'm usually just on the other side of it. But when I start getting peppered with questions, it tells you like people are talking about something. So I don't know specifically what people are suggesting. What I can tell you about the Frank Wilson situation is Lane's running back coach at Ole Miss is Kevin Smith, who played at Central Florida, drafted by the Lions, good NFL career. And Kevin Smith has been with Lane since FAU. So 3 years at FAU, 6 years at Ole Miss. They've been together for 9 years. If you go look at the press conference, Knox Kiffin, the kid sitting next to Knox is Kevin Smith Jr. That's Kevin Smith's son. They're like best friends. Knox is the quarterback on his football team. Kevin Smith Jr. is the receiver. Their families are very close. Kevin Smith did not get on the plane to Baton Rouge on Sunday. Now, Monday, Smith and Garrison, the offensive line coach, James Garrison, Jeff Garrison. Anyway, but they were supposed to come with their wives to Baton Rouge Monday. The coaches did not come. The wives did. So I think the sales pitch is still on for Lane, trying to get those two to join this staff. I don't know that that's going to happen. So if it doesn't, then it stands to reason Frank will stay on as the running backs coach. If he does convince Kevin Smith to come to Baton Rouge, that complicates things because then there's really not a spot on the field for Frank. And as I'm told, Frank's not going to be an analyst or take an off-field role. So it's not easy. Now, my preference is, I don't care if you got a good relationship with Kevin Smith. You got to keep Frank Wilson on the staff.
100%.
There's two non-negotiables. It's Frank Wilson and Corey Raymond. You keep those two at all costs.
I mean, you talk about how good of a recruiter Coach O is. I don't know that there's ever been a better recruiter in the history of the LSU football program than Frank Wilson.
Specifically in New Orleans.
Yeah, exactly.
You have got to own New Orleans. You have to. So if you're going to be the LSU coach, man, I hope it gets done and Coach Frank stays. I just don't know that's been decided yet.
Well, Matt, look, I think what you do is outstanding. I don't know how you do everything you do. You got Morning Scone, you got your ESPN show, you got Locked On LSU. I mean, if people can't find you, they ain't trying. LouisianaSports.net. If you can't find Matt Moscona, you just ain't very bright because you ain't trying hard enough.
You messed up the vowels in my name. That's what happened.
I did?
No, I'm saying if you can't find me,
it's
because you messed up the vowels in my name.
You just can't type. Maybe that's what it is.
Moscona.
Morning Scone, everybody. Locked On LSU. And your ESPN show is on from 4 to 6. Is that
3 to 6? Thanks for noticing.
3 to 6. We got it. Matt Moscona, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. Try to find a way to get some sleep. I know it's not going to come probably this week, but, maybe soon.
I got 6 hours last night. I'm feeling good.
Hey, man, we're moving on up. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay, man. See you, Jim.
Matt Moscona, everybody. Again, he's got his hat in the ring everywhere, and he's doing his thing. A couple of comments before we get to Gabe here. Comments that I actually want to show. I'm sorry I didn't show more comments while they were on. I just had so many questions that I had to ask him what I was thinking. Mark says Matt and Jim, his two favorite NOLA guys, two best in the industry. Really enjoyed Dattitude and the Morning Scone. Love it. Glad to hear that so much. Mark, I'm not talking about the Pelicans. I'm sorry. I'm just not today. Luann Doro, I'm sorry I didn't get to your message earlier. This is a chance for LSU and Ole Miss to feel better about each other. We are like the English and the Irish. Same DNA. You got a great point there, Luann. That's a good way to put it. I'm not smart enough to think of it like that, though. Or My friend Shane Bergeron, I watched on Sportsmanlike this morning, ESPN. They had their two young stud running backs from Notre Dame and flat out asked Jeremiah, if the better you do, more money they have to pay you. And he flat out said yes, which is fair. They drive the revenue in these programs. That's just the state we're in right now. I think that is absolutely true. Joe said, let's see. Coach O could be the bridge to mentoring Kiffin on our culture. You got a point there. Look, all we heard was Brian Kelly just didn't fit in, and he didn't. I mean, it was a very valid point. So anything that Lane Kiffin can get to help him, I'm sure would be. Good morning, Lance. And Mr. J. Hamilton, fascinating details. Look, that's why I wanted these two guys on. There's no doubt about it. That's why I wanted these two guys on the show, because I just thought, look, if we can go out and get a major voice from Tulane and obviously someone who knows LSU like that, Gabe Henderson, we're going to be better off. And that's what we did here on the Dattitude podcast. I think it was a fascinating, informative show this morning.
For sure. Completely agree. Love listening to them both.
What you got for me this morning, Gabe Henderson?
Well, there are a lot of mixed opinions when it comes to LSU's hiring of Lane Kiffin and their whole coaching search and how they've handled everything, even with the questions that are still to come. But, Jim, I'm here to remind you that it can always be worse.
Oh, yeah.
You could be the Penn State Nittany Lions right now.
Oh, yikes.
Have you seen how far they've fallen?
They are like, what's their recruit? Do they even have an early recruiting class?
So
how many
we've
flips
got
did they have?
We've got their updated recruiting class, and that's what I was going to read. Well, it's important to note right now they do not have a coach.
Well,
they've swung and missed on. They've more than struck out. I mean,
who the hell is their AD? He's got to be fired, right?
Did you see his account got hacked?
I have no idea. No, I didn't.
His account got hacked the other day, and it was after one of the other hires, and someone tweeted, "I don't know who the F to hire." Someone hacked his account and tweeted that out.
Oh no!
And it took him hours to notice it. But so they still do not have a coach. Let's just say that if opposing agents, coaches, if opponents were pitching against Penn State right now, they wouldn't have just struck out Penn State. They would have thrown an immaculate inning.
For those of you who don't know what that is, that's 9 straight strikes to get out of the inning, by the way.
Penn State currently has the 144th rated recruiting class.
Oh, no, you're kidding.
They are behind the likes of juggernauts.
Oh, no. Western Kentucky.
FCS juggernauts.
FCS schools?
Montana.
You're kidding.
Columbia.
Wow.
And the United States Army Academy.
Wow. Yeah, that ain't good.
They have 3 commits right now.
3 commits.
Yeah, that's it. James Franklin has flipped. Last I checked, I think the count was up to 6 Penn State recruits for Virginia Tech.
After they ask a great question, he says, "How are you the first program to fire a coach and you still don't have one?"
I don't know. They have completely whiffed on everything.
I don't know, man.
And here's the tricky part about Penn State. I think they were right to fire James Franklin. I really do. You know, people are going to say the grass isn't always greener. I think it was time for them to part ways with James Franklin. They just needed a backup plan.
Why didn't they do it before the season? I don't know. That's like UBN says.
Because
how do you hire Franklin?
Come on, he proven that.
All right, look.
I agree.
Even if I don't know whether I agree with you or not. I mean, I don't disagree with you. Let's put it that way. But like UBN says, if you're going to fire, look, to me, when you get fired, there's always a plan, or there should be anyway, a plan in place. And so if you're going to fire your head coach, at least know who your target's going to be when you do.
I think they knew their target. Their targets
didn't go after him hard enough.
They did, but he decided to stay put. And that was Matt Rule. I mean, I think it was no secret that Matt Rule, who is best friends, you can't just go in with
one target. Although LSU kind of did that.
I know. Well, LSU did that, yeah, and I think that shows the gap between the 2 programs. LSU went in with one target, and they got their guy. Penn State, I mean, they missed on Sataki, who is the BYU head coach.
Right. I know.
I mean, they've missed on just about everyone, and I really thought at this point it would be Brian Hartline was the guy who's the Ohio State, longtime Ohio State wide receiver coach, now their OC. He's going to South Florida this morning.
Exactly. Yeah. When you pick South Florida over Penn State, kind of says a lot.
I mean, do you take a swing on Jim Knowles, who's their defensive coordinator, who they just pried away from Ohio State? Brian Kelly's
available.
At this point, Brian Kelly's available. Brian Kelly is. I mean, I know you and
they've settled now. So Brian Kelly actually can go to Penn State if he wants to and still get his full money from LSU. So, I mean, honestly, if you're Penn State, you got to kind of think about that, right?
You do. And the fans would not be happy, but I don't think you could do anything to make them happy at this point. I mean, they're miserable right now. But I mean, if you and a lot of other people like to kind of partly joking, partly not, compare Lane Kiffin to Brian Kelly. If you want to talk about the guys that are most like Brian Kelly, James Franklin and Brian Kelly are mirror images of each other in terms of coaches.
They're like blood brothers. Yeah. I mean, maybe they really are. There's no doubt they're very, very similar. You got anything else before we get to for our Thursday night picks? Do you want to say anything on the LSU, Tulane, anything? I mean, you got to be happy.
You know my stance. They should play every year.
Absolutely should play.
I'm so tired of and I hope
who cares if they play at Yeoman, and if it's true that you lose a couple bucks, who gives a damn? Go play at Yeoman Stadium. The state wants it. I mean, look,
crotchety old heads
play the Dome. Yeah, that's
crotchety old heads that are leading LSU. You know what? I will say, you and I have long preached that the governor needs to keep his nose at a place that doesn't belong.
Don't bring him up.
I would be very happy if the governor of Louisiana went to leadership at both universities and said, all right, guys, you need to play.
He'd screw it up.
Probably. But we're not going down that road. I'm just saying. Just give me a rivalry for LSU in the last week of the season, be it Arkansas.
I would love Tulane, it, just like Georgia and Georgia Tech play. Look,
give me something.
Until recently, Georgia had no reason to play Georgia Tech. I mean, really, Georgia Tech was like, got their asses kicked year after year for like 15 straight years, and it didn't matter. Georgia says, we're still going to do this rivalry because that's what we're supposed to do, damn it. Well, LSU and Tulane, you're supposed to play each other. That's what I grew up with. That's what people my age grew up with. People older than me, they definitely grew up with. Find a way to play each other. I don't care how you do it. I don't care if it's a 2-for-1. Just find a way to play each other.
I have long been an advocate for, and I said this, you can back me up on this because we had this debate week 1 when LSU played Clemson. I have long been an advocate of playing the best college football games possible. All this talk of, if Texas would have scheduled Texas State Tech University week 1, then they would be in the playoff right now. I don't care. I love watching Texas and Ohio State play.
They all get scared of playing. I can tell you a very quick story. When I left LSU, went to UNO, and after a while was the sports editor at the UNO Driftwood for 2 years. And it was the year that UNO went undefeated in the Sun Belt, and they went 26-4 and ended up going to the NCAA tournament as an 8 seed. And they played Arizona earlier in the year, and Arizona was in the top 5. And they played them a super tight. It was within 6 or 8 points the entire game. UNO, I think, tied the game late in the game, and Arizona ended up squeaking it off, winning by 2 or 4, something like that. And Lute Olson, at UNO, by the way, and Lute Olson said, and the first thing he said, and he didn't have a press conference, there was hardly any media there. I was one of like 2 people covering the damn game. And Lute Olson said, this is why teams like Arizona don't want to come to places like UNO, but it's you should want to, though. You should want to spread the wealth around a little bit, but they just won't because of fear of losing a game like that, especially on the road. It's like, why are you playing that game?
We've already seen what Alabama's done. I don't know if you saw it. Alabama kicked back their game against South Florida to 20-32, and they scheduled like Chattanooga and Mercer, or something like that.
Well, those powerhouses. Both of those, by the way, breaking news, both of those are ahead of Penn State in the recruiting.
If they're not, they will be soon. I'm a large advocate for, I want to see the best games as often as possible, which is why I absolutely love what LSU has done over the last 15, 20 years in that opening week or two. They usually play a big game, be it on the road, be it at a neutral site, be it at Tiger Stadium. I want to see that. And I will end with this sort of relevant rant. I'm very happy the committee has left Vanderbilt out, and I'll leave it at that.
And you're just trying to piss people off. Way to go.
I'm sick of Diego Pavia and his family.
I'm going to get hate mail now because you're hating on Vanderbilt.
That's fine. No. I don't hate Vanderbilt. I don't hate Vanderbilt. Let it be known. I'm a big Clark Lee guy. I'm tired of Diego Pavia.
They don't deserve the playoff.
Family. No, they don't. And I'm tired. He doesn't deserve an invite.
I don't
to
feel
New
the
York
way
for
that you
Heisman.
feel about Diego Pavia, but Vanderbilt doesn't belong in the playoffs. They're not one of the top 12 teams in the country. They're just not. Sorry. And they're just getting screwed. I don't care. Whatever.
I still think 12 teams is too many.
Oh, it's not enough, and it's definitely going up. It's going to be to 16 before too long.
It wasn't enough when it was 4. It's not enough at 12. It's not going to be enough at 16. You might as well just put every FBS team in and have
free for all
tournament. Like
I like free for alls.
Basketball. No, I mean,
I'm okay with 64. Find a way to do it. That's never going to happen. But I do think that one day, I don't know if it will be in the next 10 years, but I think before you are my age, that it will be 32 teams. They will find a way to make it 30. I think 16 is happening within the next 5 to 6 years. I think 32 is next after that. I think they'll stop there
happen sooner rather than later, and I don't want that. There are you cannot convince me that in a given year there are more than there's not even 12 teams that deserve a shot at a title. Alabama does not deserve a shot at a title this year. I'm sorry.
I disagree. I mean, last year the 6th seed won. I mean,
no, Ohio State was the
weren't they the 6th seed? 5?
I think they were the 5.
I think they were the 6th seed.
But that was just because they didn't play in their conference title because they lost to Oregon in the regular season. Conferences are too damn big. Put it that way.
I will say this. I think that of the 12 teams that are going to go, I would say that at least 6 of them have a legitimate chance to win the national championship. And maybe not necessarily the top 6. We'll talk about that later. When we find, we'll do a segment next week. Obviously, when the official bracket comes on, we're gonna
we can do it.
We'll do a second.
Absolutely.
Mally Mal says that Ohio State's that's just too easy.
And here's the great. Well,
I'll take the field, Mally Mal. You can have Ohio State, and I'll take the field.
I actually, despite my previous comments, Alabama's like plus 1,300. I like that value.
Regionals like supers in baseball. That would be fun. I'm okay with the regional. Then the SEC haters could get their wish, and you can make it so there's no way 2 SEC teams could play each other.
I just think no matter how many teams you have, you're always going to piss off more fan bases because people are like, well, we're right there.
I'm not saying
up with
I don't care if people get pissed,
and I'm tired of it.
Oh, you're definitely going to piss fan bases off, but that's because people just get pissed off regardless. That's who they're pissy. Anyway, all right, it's time. We got to wrap up the show. It was a long show, but a really good show. I'm glad for those who stuck around. Thank you so much. And again, a shout out to our newest sponsor, Joe DiStefano Insurance. We thank you, Joe, so much. 504-234-2132. If you have a small company that's looking for health insurance for your employees, then give Joe a call. Reach out to them again, 504-234-2132. All right, Thursday night football. This is when we give our play, and I teased to it earlier. I always let you go first, and I'm going to let you go first here. I absolutely have a best bet. I don't always have a best bet, but I 100% have a best bet. In fact, I would say this is probably one of my top 6 to 8 plays of the year. You were shaking your head. I'm assuming you don't have a play on this game.
I wish you would have kept talking for 5 more seconds because I had a bit that I was going to.
All right, I'll keep talking. Hold on.
Here's an Uno reverse card. I'm kicking it back to you because I know you teased your pick in this game. I really don't have many thoughts. I haven't given this one many thoughts at all. So I will let you take the floor and I will respond accordingly.
It's funny. And let's go to the comments before I give my pick. S. Callie loves the show. Thank you. Charles Mangus. Absolutely. Goober says Ohio State didn't play anyone. Well, that's necessary. They didn't have the super tough schedule. But
they play someone this week.
Yeah, they sure will because they play in Indiana. Rocky says, nice show. Keith Carter is a douche. I mean, that's a little harsh. Earl's Pick says Dallas went straight up. Charles Mangus says Cowboys win over Detroit. And y'all are proving my point. The public absolutely loves them. Some Dallas Cowboys. America's team is back in this thing. They are going to, my know-it-all son said, what are you talking about? Dallas, I made my son a bet. This is how sure I am that Dallas is going to find a way to screw things up. I bet him 8-1. My $80 to his 10 that Dallas wouldn't make the playoffs because if you know how to do math, and it doesn't take it, if a Shough guy can figure it out, then anybody can figure it out. That Dallas probably has to win out, or maybe they might be able to lose one more. and make the playoffs. They are not going to catch Philadelphia. Sorry, ain't happening. Everybody loves them some Dallas Cowboys. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions are at home sitting back saying, what in the hell is this spread doing at 3 points? I know Amon-Ra. Let me tell you one fact. Here's a fact for you that don't understand this. The Dallas Cowboys defense is awful. The Cowboys defense, they've been playing a little bit better, but overall they're horrendous. And the Lions offense at home is usually pretty darn good. I think the Lions steamroll the Cowboys. I like double digits. I might even play an alt spread in this game, but one of the locks of the year, the Detroit Lions -3 over the Dallas Cowboys. I think they win somewhere along the lines of, 30-20. And let's just say that Kelvin Shepard and company, they might have a little something for Dak because the Lions D has been playing pretty salty as of late. Kelvin Shepard might have his eyes on another job when the season's over. Who knows? Maybe we'll get an NFL job. I just really like with the Detroit defense has been playing better. And again, at home, their offense is really good.
So you can get an alternate spread of Detroit -9.5 at +221, or if you want to be bold and go +10.5 with that hook, it's +261.
Nah, that's not worth the value. We'll see. I'll probably just take the -3. That's not as good of a value as I thought it would be. But anyway.
A lot of people are talking about this being a must-win for Dallas. Anyone who does that,
Detroit.
I was going to say, I implore you to go look at the NFL playoff picture. Because right now the Detroit Lions are sitting on the bubble. They are out on the outside looking in. This is a must-win for Detroit.
And not only that,
a little banged up on offense, but I like Detroit to get it done.
You talk about that, Gabe, and if you look at it, this very well in the long run, if Dallas is going to make the playoffs and they are going to make a run, and I know their schedule gets easier, and Errol's asking the St. Brown out. St. Brown right now is doubtful. I don't think he's going to play. I don't care whether he plays or not. So it's not definite that he's not going to play, but he's probably not going to play.
ESPN.
Yeah, everything I've been reading through the tea leaves in fantasy, and I don't have him in fantasy, but I don't think he's going to play. Gibbs says he's going to run. Nick UBN says Gibbs is going to run all over it. Yeah, so both of them will. I just don't think Dallas can stop Detroit. And again, if Detroit wins this game, for all intents and purposes, unless the bottom falls out of the Niners, which isn't going to happen, I'm telling you, the Cowboys are almost eliminated if they lose this game, because then they'll basically be 2 games behind Detroit. They're not going to catch Detroit. They're not going to catch the 49ers. And like I said, unless the bottom fall, I know everybody thinks the Eagles are absolutely terrible. Breaking news alert for you. They're not nearly as bad as you think they are. Dallas is not going to win out, and they're not going to win this game. So there you go.
Yeah, I like Detroit in this game as well. So we're on the same page.
All right, we'll see what happens. Again, usually we've been done pretty well this year. I should go and figure out what our record is on Monday night and Thursday night, because overall, especially when we agree, when you and I agree, we've been really good on Monday night and Thursday night. So maybe I'll make a short of that and see what our best bet is, because I love it, obviously. Anything else before we say night-night?
No, don't believe so.
All right, well, we'll see you on Friday with the return of our best bets. And Zach Ewing will be here. See you Friday.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Again, a shout out to our new sponsor, Joe DiStefano Insurance, along with our title sponsor, Evangeline Securities. We thank Evangeline for being the title sponsor of the Dattitude podcast. We ask you very politely and nicely, the nicest way possible, please subscribe to the Dattitude. If you like what you saw today, if you're new and you're like, what's going on with this show? Basically, the way we work it is we're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time, or just about. Sometimes things happen and we have to take a day off or whatever. We let you know that ahead of time. Monday is Mono-y Monday. It's just me and you, and Gabe comes on at the end. It's just us in the comment stream. And that's all we do the entire show. You're like, how do you pull that off? Trust me. We have more than enough comments that on Mondays, we literally have hundreds of comments. I could probably do a 3-hour show if I want. We cut it off at about an hour 30, hour and 45 minutes. Then on Wednesday is our guest day. Like it was today, we happen to have 2 really good guests. And then it can be from anywhere. I'm going to have, I know Mike Detillier is going to come on this show either next Wednesday or the Wednesday following, because I haven't got his thoughts. I haven't had him on since the Monday after Brian Kelly got fired. He came on. So he's going to come on very soon. and we'll talk about the potential, what's going on both at LSU, and he'll give us our thoughts on the Saints, because we are going to shift back to the Saints a little bit as we go forward. What's going to happen with this, not just this week against the Bucs, but I think this is a huge time for Tyler Shough. Can he continue the progress that he's been in? I know I didn't talk enough Saints today, but we'll get back into it on Friday with Zach Ewing when he comes in. That's what Friday is. Friday during the football season until the Super Bowl is over. We make our picks. We also talk with Zach Ewing about the upcoming Saints game. We talked to him about the upcoming, in this case, the Tulane game. I'll get his thoughts on LSU. I don't think I've asked him his thoughts. Or was he on Saturday? Yeah, he did come on Saturday. So I have just his thoughts maybe on the signing as well. But he'll be on Friday, and we'll have all that as well. So that's what the Dattitude podcast is about. If you love it, we hope you subscribe. We hope you come back. Again, next show, Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. That is going to do it for us. That is going to wrap it up. I want to give a big thanks to Corey Gloor, Tulane play-by-play announcer, and, of course, Matt Moscona, who has several different hats, covers LSU on his podcast and on his shows. And then Gabe Henderson is always here. We thank Gabe so much for helping behind the scenes, helping in front of the scenes, whatever way he can help. We will see you all next on Friday. And until then, stay warm. Man, put some layers on when you go out there. Stay warm, and we will see you Friday. Stay dry, too. It's supposed to be nasty weather. We will see everybody on Friday. Take it easy, my friends.